And now, Lifestyles Unlimited presents the Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Over the next hour, we unfold your map to financial freedom. You'll learn how to retire through investing in single family and multifamily real estate. You'll learn how to create cash flow and build wealth so you can have the time and money to live the lifestyle you want.
Welcome to the show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, I'm working on your financial freedom. And on today's show, we're going to discuss a topic that is near and dear to my heart. We're going to talk about the topic of legacy. Now, legacy, to some of you, means absolutely nothing. To some of you, legacy means absolutely everything. And to everybody else, you're somewhere in between. You are somewhere in between. So what is legacy? What exactly is legacy? Well, according to dictionary.com, legacy is either money or property given to another person by the means of a will. In other words, it's an inheritance type of thing. Or it's something handed down from an ancestor or a predecessor from the past. Yeah, so it has a heritage effect to it. So that's what legacy is. And legacy means a lot to me. Now, at one point in my life, legacy didn't mean a whole lot to me. What am I getting at? Well, at one point in my life, I was young. I was not married. I wasn't even dating a woman. I was just being me. I was focused on what I wanted to focus on, and I didn't focus on anybody else's interests than me. Yeah, I was kind of selfish in my youth. But what I'm trying to get at was I wasn't doing anything to generate wealth for anybody in my family that would come after me. So over time, I started dating a woman, and this woman ultimately became my lifelong partner. She became my wife in marriage. Her name is Tina. I love her very much. She is the focus of my life. And here's one of the things that I know that will probably happen in our marriage. One of us is going to die first, and it's probably going to be me. And here's why I know this. The life expectancy of a male in our society is less than the life expectancy of a female. I mean, you can do all the research. You can look it up. I don't care about pronouns and all that stuff. I'm not going in that direction. I'm just saying from a biological standpoint, women tend to live longer than men live. Now, there's another piece to the formula that I need to inform you of. I am 7.5 years older than my wife. You heard me correctly. 7.5 years. Yeah, okay. I'm a cradle robber. Oh, go ahead. Say it. I'll say it. I'm a cradle robber. I did good, though. I did really good. So that exacerbates the problem that I might die before she does. It really does. I mean, so why am I bringing up this morbid topic? The reason I'm bringing this morbid topic up is because I want to get ahead of the power curve. I don't want to just die and then dump all of my real estate onto my wife and my kids. No, I don't want that. So what I have done is I have done something called legacy planning. What I have done is I've sat down with my family and made sure that they're, number one, educated on all the assets that we own. That doesn't mean they're making all the decisions as to whether we buy it or sell it or blah, blah, blah. No, but they do understand what the asset is intended to do. They do understand the investing strategy for the asset. They do understand the potential lifespan of that asset, and they understand what that asset is supposed to do from a financial standpoint to benefit our household. Why do they know that? Because if I die tomorrow, who's going to tell them all that information? I mean, seriously, who's going to tell them all that information? Nobody. How are they going to find it out? They're going to have to figure it out, right? Okay, well, in my scenario, that's not the scenario that's going to play out. That will not be the scenario that plays out. If I die tomorrow, my wife and my kids, I haven't even brought up my kids yet. That's part of my legacy plan, too, because here's the thing. Kids tend to live longer than their parents do. Right. Yeah, you got it. And let me just tell you a little bit about me. Let me tell you a little bit about Al Gordon. Let me tell you about why I look at legacy the way I look at legacy. I look at legacy as a very important component to my life because I want to make life better for those in my family history, in my family tree, if you will, for those people coming after me so they don't have to go through the struggles that I went through or the struggles that the people that came before me went through. It's an interesting thing about the Gordon family, and it's part of the legacy that was handed down to me. My dad loved me a lot. Now, he was an alcoholic. Let's just be very clear. He had a little problem with drinking. He finally got his head around that, so to speak, and in his 50s, he stopped drinking. And he loved me very, very much. He was not a very wealthy man. He didn't leave a lot for me in a way of legacy. When he passed away, I think he had a little over $2,000 in his checking account, and most of that money went for funeral services. So that was kind of the legacy planning that he did. In his mind's eye, he didn't want to leave responsibility for me to clean up after him. Does that make sense? I know it sounds like a terrible way to address it, but that's really what his mindset was. He didn't want to be a burden on his children. He knew that he was not a very wealthy man. He knew that he lived a very humble life. He was okay with that. He was totally okay with that. And part of his legacy planning was he did not want to be a burden upon his children. And you know what? He never was. He never was a burden upon us. That was part of his legacy planning. The other part of his legacy planning was he wanted to make sure that I had a lifestyle that was more comfortable than the lifestyle that he had. And ironically, that was passed down to him from his father because his father wanted him to have a better lifestyle. Now, on the Gordon side of the world, let me just tell you where we came from, where my father's lineage came from. We are Russian Jews. You heard me correctly, Russian Jews. So that's where half of me came from. The other half of me came from European roots, Scots, Irish, German. On my father's side, starting with my grandfather, who I'm named after, by the way, has served in the United States Army. My grandfather, Albert Gordon, he served in the United States Army in World War I. My father, William Gordon, he served in World War II and the Korean conflict. Myself, Albert Gordon, I have served in Operation Enduring Freedom. I did 27 years in the Army. Let's just cut to the chase. And then my son is actually carrying on the legacy right now. He's just come back from a deployment with the United States Army, and his name is Jonathan Gordon. So in our family, we have a lasting legacy of military service. Our family loves this country so much, our family is willing to fight and die for this country. That's who I am. That's where I come from. My grandfather came to America with his grandfather, Abraham. They escaped a czar in Russia that was murdering people left and right. If you were a Jew, you were on the hit list and you were going to get murdered. That's just the way it was. So what did Abraham do? He protected the legacy of his family. He put his family together, put them on a boat, and they came to a place called the United States of America. They entered through Ellis Island. They wound up in a place called Chicago. You've heard of it, Chicago, Illinois. And that is where my father's father grew up. And eventually, my father's father gained his citizenship. My great-grandfather also gained his citizenship. They did it the correct way, not the way that people are doing it today. They did it the correct way. So I have a legacy that I believe there is a right way to enter this country. I'm just telling you what I believe. All right, so on my mother's side, European ancestry, right? European ancestry. So how did they come to America? Well, 4 generations ago, they came to America for the very same reasons that my father's generations came to America for, to have a better life, to escape what they were living in over in Europe because they didn't like it. So they came to America to start a new life. Eventually, my father and my mother met in a place called St. Louis, Missouri, and they became married. And then they moved to a place called Las Vegas, Nevada. They lived in Las Vegas, Nevada, and a kid by the name of Albert Gordon, that's me, was born. I was born and raised in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I make no excuses for it. I like to joke. I like to say that I was born with a pair of dice in one hand and a slot machine handle in the other. It's not true, but it makes for a very, very colorful commentary, doesn't it? All right, so let me get back to this concept of legacy. Legacy to me, especially when it comes to the multifamily investing piece, because that's where I primarily invest, is a topic very close to my heart. As an investor, I understand the significance of building a lasting impact and leaving behind a meaningful legacy for the future generations that will come from me. Now think about it. Both of my great-grandfathers never met me. I never met them. My grandfathers. I never met my grandfather, Albert. I never did. He passed away long before I was born. Now, I did meet my grandfather, Walter. Yes, my mother's father. I did meet him, but I was like 6 months of age, and he passed away not too long after that. I don't remember physically meeting him, but I do have a picture in my photojournals of my grandfather, Walter, holding me as a baby. And that's an important picture. What that picture tells me is that my grandfather, Walter, was doing everything that he could do in the economy that he lived in the time period that he lived in, to make whatever he could make available for me in the future. Yeah. So I'm actually a product of a desire by my family to give me some unique opportunities in America. And I think the multifamily sector provides a unique opportunity not only to create wealth, but to generate passive income and to positively impact communities. I absolutely do. And that's part of the reason I'm doing the investing that I'm doing, because I find that by investing in the multifamily assets, not only am I changing the lives of other people by providing them clean, functional workforce housing, I am also changing the lives of my family members to include me, because my life has become much more productive. My life has become much more flourishing. I have more disposable income available to me at this point in my life than I ever had. Now, one of the things I've got to tell you, and some of you know this already, but I'll just go ahead and repeat it. I tried to retire at the age of 50. I did. That's when I left the United States Army. The Army decided it was time for me to go, so I left, and I earned a pension. I thought, hey, I've got this pension, right? But then when I started looking at that pension, and I started realizing that pension only pays me 1/3 of what I used to make when I was serving on active duty, I had a big problem. I had a financial problem, and I had to get back into the workforce. And I thought my legacy at that time was going to be, I will continue to work until I die. Now, why do I make that point? My mother worked until she could no longer work, in which case I took care of her, and then she passed away. My father worked until he could no longer work, and then because he was a veteran and he qualified, we were able to get him accommodated in the soldier's home. He stayed in the soldier's home for about 2 years, and then he passed away. I don't want that legacy for my family. I don't want to work my entire life and work until a point where I can no longer work, in which case I become a burden on somebody or something else. Does that make sense? Everything that I have done so far, especially since becoming a member of Lifestyles Unlimited, has directed me in this path that I'm going in. And here's the magic part. I am fully retired. The first time I tried it, I failed, and I really thought I was going to work till the age of 70. And then Lifestyles Unlimited came along, and they gave me a legacy plan that made absolute sense to me. So much sense that I've patterned my entire life off of the Lifestyles Unlimited map. And get this, I was supposed to get myself retired in about 5 years. Okay. So based on the fact that I joined in 2017, I was supposed to be retired by about 2022, right about now. I should be retired right about now. Okay. But here's the actual result. I have been retired for 4 years. Yeah. I was able to get it done in 2 years just by following the map that Del Walmsley put together for me. It's a beautiful map, and it has a legacy component to it. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk more about legacy. Stick around.
Got questions? Call Lifestyles Unlimited at 855-497-4335. The Real Estate Investor Radio Show continues next.
Del Walmsley on the economy and politics.
What happens if the economy turns around and goes back down now the Democrats are in power, or inflation becomes rampant and all of a sudden it becomes very difficult to do business? I was listening to an economist the other day, and he pulled out this chart of GDP. He said, look, here's what I want you to do. He said, tell me anywhere from 1950 to 2021 where the Democrats took power and where the Republicans took power. He said, point it out for me. And the truth of the matter is you can't tell.
If you're sitting on the sidelines waiting to see what the politicians are going to do, or waiting to see what the economy's going to do, if you're trying to predict the future, stop. Politicians and the economy have no bearing on your success or failure. Only you do. Register for the next live online free workshop. We'll unfold the map to retirement in 5 years or less, regardless of what's going on in the world. It's the same proven strategies we've been using for 30 years, through every political party and economic cycle you can think of. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Creating the lifestyle you've always wanted. You're hearing Lifestyles Unlimited's Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome back to the second half of the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, I'm working on your financial freedom. And we're doing so today by bringing up the concept of legacy. And I've dumped a lot of info on you about me. The reason I've done that is so that you understand that I am actually a product of a legacy plan. I'm a product of a legacy plan. That legacy plan was to come to America and create a better life, not only for yourself, but for future generations. I am a recipient of people that did that. Some of those people that did that, I have never met. They passed away before I was born. So there is a legacy that's passed down through my different generational chains to me that indicates, hey, Al, we want you to do the best that you can. We've come to America, we've naturalized ourselves, we've assimilated into the culture, we've become American citizens, and now every child that is born on terra firma in America will also be United States citizens, and that is the legacy that they gave me. They gave me the legacy of being an American, and I'll tell you what, I'm not going to waste it. I'm not going to squander it. This is the best country on the face of the planet. I don't care if you believe that statement or not. I believe that statement 100%. I have been to other countries that are just living hellholes. I cannot describe it any nicer than that. They are just terrible places, and it's not because of the land itself. It's because of the people that operate the governments. Yeah, it's really the people that create the problem. It's not the land, it's not the animals, it's the people. People tend to be, well, what people tend to be. That's just the way the world is. And if you really want to understand the world, get a copy of the Bible, read through it a couple times, and you will get a master's, you'll get a PhD level education on mankind. Trust me, it's all in there. So let's get back to my legacy. I've told you about how I've got here, what I did to get to this place in time where I am focused on a legacy for my family, for my children, for my grandchildren. You know, I don't even have grandchildren yet. I do not have grandchildren yet. I am thinking about my grandchildren as part of my legacy plan. So what have I done different than those that have come before me? Well, the big thing that I did different was, well, first of all, I became a member of Lifestyles Unlimited. Now, why did I become a member of Lifestyles Unlimited? Because I was doing everything that everybody in society had told me to do. I was doing everything that my family told me to do. They told me to go to school, get good grades. With those grades, get into college, get more good grades. And, you know, with that, you would get into a job that paid you a lot more money than if you just went into the work sector yourself. That was the lie that was perpetuated on me and my entire generation. And it's a lie, but it was believed by the generations that came before me because they actually believed that was the path to success. In our society, as our society moved and migrated from an industrial to a technological society, things have changed with regards to how we operate as a workforce in this country. And back then, we were more of an industrial nation, and really, if you were in the industrial aspect of the nation, you were probably working very, very long hours for very little wages. And it just seemed like, you know, maybe you're just going through the daily grind, day in, day out. You're never seeming to make ends meet. Well, I kind of went through that myself. Now, I did everything that everybody told me to do. I got the good grades. I got into college. I got good grades there, and I got into the workforce. But how did I get into the workforce? I got into the workforce through the military. And here's why. College, that was not something my parents could afford. No, the college that I went to, the University of Southern California, the annual tuition fees and room and board cost more than my mother and father made annually. Yeah, way more. So, you know, the idea of my parents like, oh, we're just going to stop living to fund your college education, although that's where we want to see you be. It wasn't going to happen. So what did I do? I turned to the military. I turned to the Air Force. I said, hey, will you guys help me pay for school? They said, we'll pay for 2 years of school. I said, I need 4 years of school. They said, we'll pay for 2 of it. And I said, yeah, it's not going to work. So I turned to the Navy. Navy said, I'll give you 3 years. We'll give you 3 years, bro. And I'm like, I need 4. We'll give you 3. That ain't going to work for me. So then I looked to the Army and I said, would you guys give me a 4-year scholarship? And they went, okay. And I went, really? And they said, yeah, we'll give you a scholarship. You qualify. I'm like, sweet. So that's how I went to college. I earned a 4-year Army ROTC scholarship to go to the University of Southern California. And I had a job literally the day I graduated because I was commissioned as second lieutenant in the United States Army. And then I spent the next 27 years trading time for money, working my butt off for other people, focused on the mission of the Army, focused on doing things to the bad guys that need to be done to them, trying to keep this as clean as possible, trying to keep the Army man aspect out of this. The point I'm trying to make is I got to a point at the age of 50, and I thought I was retired because the Army said, we have decided to retire you instead of promote you. I went, oh, that's nice. Thanks. So now I'm unemployed. Now I've got a pension. I'm making 1/3 of what I used to make. It ain't cutting it. Yeah, because just because my income went down 2/3, my expenses didn't go down 2/3. Yeah, I couldn't get rid of the house payment. I couldn't get rid of anything else that I had to pay for. I think my kids were in college at that time. Yeah, it was getting expensive. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So what was my game plan? My legacy became go back to work because that's what I knew. That's exactly what I knew. So I did that. I went and that's what the Army teaches you. When you transition out of the Army, they teach you how to put a resume together. They teach you how to go out and interview. They don't teach you anything else because that's the legacy. They know that you can't live off of that pension. They know you're going to figure that out. Like in my case, I figured it out at the last minute. And you know what? It hurt. It hurt. I felt like a failure. I totally felt like a failure at that time in my life. And then I had to get back into the workforce, and I had to take a job that wasn't the job that I wanted. No, it wasn't the job that I wanted. It was the job that I had to stop the financial bleeding in my household. Yeah. So I did that job, and I'm thinking, I'm just going to be in cubicle hell for the next 20 years. And then at least I'll get a pension out of this second job, and I can add that with my Army pension. And then I'll be 70 years of age. I can get maximum Social Security. Maybe I could live off of that. And that legacy going forward was destroying my mind. I did not want to do that, but I did not know another way. I struggled to find another way. I knew real estate was the answer, but I did not know how to go after the real estate. I just did not know how to do it correctly. I am planning to do things with my family later on in this year that I would have never been able to do if I had not started investing into multifamily assets. It's as simple as that. Multifamily investing has completely changed the trajectory of my life. Now, one aspect that makes multifamily investing particularly powerful is its potential for generational wealth creation. By acquiring and managing multifamily properties wisely, I can secure a consistent cash flow that will benefit my family for years to come. That's the legacy right there. And wouldn't it be neat if my children's children are born into a family where money isn't a concern? And there's plenty of it, because there is generational wealth that is coming into the family line. They see the results. They see other Lifestyles Unlimited members obtaining the same types of results that we're obtaining. They're watching other Lifestyles Unlimited members that are legacies themselves, and they are poised to inherit generational wealth that is being passed down to them. You can do it too. Legacy in multifamily investment also encompasses the values and principles that guide my investment decisions. I strive to operate with integrity, transparency, and commitment to ethical business practices. That's how I roll. That's how we roll at Lifestyles Unlimited. And by the way, I'll just tell you, and I've heard Del Walmsley say this, so I feel comfortable saying this myself. If you're not into ethics, if you're out to take advantage of other people, don't join Lifestyles Unlimited. We're not the organization for you. Yeah, we are about ethics. We care. We absolutely care. We care about people. Don't join Lifestyles Unlimited if you're the type of person that wants to abuse other people. I'm serious. You won't find a good, comfortable fit for you here. And by adhering to this value system that I have, I hope to inspire others in the industry to prioritize social responsibility and community development. And through my actions, I aim to have a lasting legacy of responsible investing and positive change. That's what I'm all about. That's what we're all about at Lifestyles Unlimited, changing our communities one asset at a time, one asset at a time. And ironically, we can make a lot of money doing all of this. So legacy holds immense importance in multifamily investment. I really think that the two have to be linked, because as you develop all of these assets, as you develop your portfolio, you have to think about who is going to carry on that portfolio when you leave. When you check out of the world, who's it going to be? Now, for me, it's going to be my wife and kids. And the reality is it's probably going to be my son, Jonathan, because he's the one that's most dialed into all of this stuff. And that's totally fine. You only need one person to operate the entire empire. And if my son, Jonathan, wants to stand up and do it, awesome. If my daughter, Jocelyn, wants to stand up and do it, awesome. I don't care how they do it as long as they do it, because I won't be here to do it. But I have set in motion everything that they need in order to be successful. And I have a generational goal that my grandchildren will be born into a family that has generational wealth, something that I was not born into, something that my ancestors wish that they could have provided to me, but they were not able to because they had not discovered Lifestyles Unlimited. Lifestyles Unlimited has only been around for 34 years. So the reality of it is my ancestors probably would not have been able to discover Lifestyles Unlimited. But I am so happy that I found Lifestyles Unlimited on the radio. I'm so happy that they provided me great content that made sense to me, kind of like the content I'm providing to you right now, so that I went to a free workshop. And in that free workshop, I was exposed to even more concepts. And I learned different things that I thought would be beneficial to me. So what did I do? Well, I joined. I became a member of Lifestyles Unlimited. And everything since then, it's all ancient history. But I'll tell you what was supposed to be a 5-year plan ultimately turned out to be a 2-year event. And I was able to get myself retired much faster than I ever imagined. I went from zero to hero when it comes to retirement. And I'll tell you what, as a guy that failed in retirement the first time, to actually achieve it the second go around, that was an amazing feeling. And what that also did for my family was it proved to them that this stuff actually works. And I got buy-in on my legacy plan. I'll tell you what, if you want to do what I'm doing, if you want to do what the 50,000 members of Lifestyles Unlimited are doing, all you have to do is go to lifestylesunlimited.com. When you get there, sign up for a free workshop, and we will get you going. The other thing I want you to do when you go to lifestylesunlimited.com is take a look at the radio tab, because all of our radio shows are podcasted there. If you're looking for a particular topic on real estate investing that maybe we've covered in the past and you just can't remember which show it was, all you do is go to lifestylesunlimited.com, go to the radio tab, and all of those shows are archived for you. You can get the information that you need for free from lifestylesunlimited.com, because we are part of your legacy. You just don't know it yet. Okay, like I said, if you want to get started, go to lifestylesunlimited.com, sign up for a free workshop, and let's get you going.
The information and opinions you hear on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.